It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Boston Celtics lose game 2 of this series to the Brooklyn Nets, 130-108, in a game that was not exactly that close. The Boston Celtics at one point trailed this game by 33. At one point, they led this game by 1. So technically, it's a comeback win. But the Brooklyn Nets put up 40 points in the first half, 38 first quarter, I should say. 38 points in the third quarter. Joe Harris destroyed them in the first quarter. And the Celtics just looked like lost. They just looked lost in here. And I guess that's as good a place to start as any with this game, because part of this was Brooklyn is just too damn good. Like, part of this is simply when Brooklyn's rolling like this, you got no shot. You're trying to cover Kyrie as he gets out. And okay, there's James Harden. We got to get somebody to James Harden. Oh shit, Kevin Durant has the ball. Now what? And people are overreacting to everything that's happening. And then Joe Harris is like, "Oh, look at me with the ball and plenty of room to shoot. I'm going to make this 3 and another 3 and another 3 and another 3." Just destroyed them with 3-pointers in the first quarter. And once that started happening, the Celtics had no chance. They could not recover. I've made this point here. I wrote it in my post-game report on Boston Sports Journal. I brought it up on the Locked On NBA podcast. So I apologize if this is the second or third time that you're hearing it, but really, this is the best description I can give you of the Boston Celtics this year. The Boston Celtics started this game out well. I thought for a minute here that this game was going to be one of those 140 to 135 slugfests. It's going to come down to who makes a couple of shots in the fourth quarter, right? I thought this was going to be one of those back and forth, you can't stop us, but we can't stop you type of things. That Kemba was starting to go off. Fournier maybe was going to start going. Jason Tatum at some point was going to start going. None of that really happened. And the Celtics, once they got smacked in the mouth, they just went back to the same formula as before. We've seen it multiple times this season. Start out well, face adversity, retreat into iso ball. Kemba Walker said it after the game. I'll pull up his quote and I'll read it to you because it's the best admission that I can give you. That Kemba Walker basically said, we got lost in transition. Here's what he said. We had a few stretches where we looked really good offensively, then not. A lot of ISO. And that's basically it. That's my point. This describes, pick a game this season that was disappointing. We did have a few stretches where we looked really good offensively, then not. A lot of ISO. That's it. And so here's my comparison is if you've ever watched a Kung Fu movie, if you've ever watched a Bruce Lee movie, the hero, the protagonist, Bruce Lee always finds himself in the middle of, here's 10 guys. I got to fight 10 guys or 15 guys or 20 guys or whatever it is. There's always some wild number of guys. And you say, well, if they just work as a team, they'll kick this guy's ass. And that's where the Celtics are. You say, well, if you just work as a team, you'll do okay. But what do? Every Kung Fu movie, we're just going to send one guy in at a time. Now, obviously, that's because you want the hero's going to win. And so the Celtics, ISO, way too often, once adversity hits, they become the bad guys in the Kung Fu movie. And they just keep going one at a time. And you're like, no, just work as a team. And they just refuse. And they keep going one at a time. And that's the whole, it's one, then your turn, then your turn, and then your turn. And at the end of the movie, The hero is standing in the middle. Like, yeah, I just vanquished 24 guys, no problem, because he's Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee movies. That's part of the fun. But the Celtics in an NBA basketball game shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be looking like the bad guys in a Bruce Lee movie. They should be like, oh yeah, we're gonna move and cut and pass and work hard and replace and all of that. Like, just it's easier said than done, I guess. But they don't have that calming factor to them. They don't have that like, all right, we're gonna do this the right way type of thing. And I don't know if this is because Jason Tatum is new to all of this, and he's got to figure this out. He's got to figure out when to attack, when to pass, when to do all of these different things. Marcus Smart had a quote that I thought was very, very telling. He was asked basically, what do you have to do to help Jason Tatum? Here's his quote. We need to get open for him. We're running plays for him. We're doing everything that we can to help him. But at the same time, Jason has to continue to be able to adjust to the defense that he's seeing out there. Like I said, we just got to continue to get open for him. We got to continue to get in his eyesight. And JT has got to continue to make the pass to us. Even if we're making or missing them, eventually the shots will fall and it'll open up a lot for him. And basically it feels like Marcus Smart is saying, trust us. You have to trust us. And we will trust you. And this is the give and take. And maybe this is part of why the Celtics end up going so much ISO, because Tatum ends up going so much ISO. When Tatum's at his best, hey, look, sometimes Tatum goes a bunch of ISO and he's awesome. And that's part of being as good as Jason Tatum is. And sometimes he goes a bunch of ISO and it's not so awesome. And you have to move the ball. You have to pass. You have to give it up to Marcus Smart. And if Marcus Smart takes a bad shot, then we call out Marcus Smart for taking out a bad shot. But part of being a superstar like that is sometimes making the pass. And part of being a good offense is making the pass. Look at what the Brooklyn Nets did. It was Joe Harris that destroyed the Celtics in the first half. It was Joe Harris because Kyrie and KD and Harden were basically like, yeah, man, that dude's on fire. Let's get on to transition. They're going to react to us. We'll just give it up to this guy and he's going to shoot. And if he missed all of those shots, they'd still give it to him the next time because generally speaking, this guy's pretty good at doing what he does. Celtics, not generally very good at doing what they do.